All right, great. Well, let's get started. Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining. Apologies for last week's, we had a little mishap with not being able to join the call. So if you did join last week, apologies. And again, thank you for joining. We're here for a very exciting afternoon, or I guess morning in some people's cases. We're gonna be witnessing the volunteer showcase for the chosen visas that David went through last week, and really excited to see what everyone has in store. Let me just share my screen. Awesome. All right. Why can't I? Oh, there. So thank you for joining, everyone. Just a quick introduction. We're Data Changemakers. I'm Benita Lucas, co-founder, based in Toronto, Canada, and I have with me Frederick on the line as well. It's early morning for him in Brisbane, Australia, and he has a bit of a scratchy throat, so I'll be doing most of the speaking this time. So we all know, we're all in the profession of data. We know data can drive real change. Our mission really is, we want to make every mission-driven organization to be able to make sure that they can leverage data and analytics to drive their goals and their purpose forward. And today, our guest is David Smith from No Kill, Colorado. Thank you, David. We've been working with you for the past couple months now, and it's been amazing just to, work with your data, work with yourself. Great to see your passion in leading this this effort. And again, I think sometimes when we people ask, how do you find projects? How do you find charities to work with? Sometimes it's just by, fortune. I think, Frederick, you saw a Reddit post or something, or somebody saw it, and then one email led to the other, and now we've met David, and we have a great relationship now. I'm looking forward to collaborating with David and team even further. Again, fantastic. Every single project just blows us away in terms of the collaboration, the effort, the skills that we see brought to the table. In this case, we did something different. We had both a data wrangling phase and now the visualization phase. So we've had like 25 volunteers across 11 countries who have all, contributed over 700 hours. So again, just fantastic. We're always just so amazed and impressed at the amount of talent and compassion that the volunteers are bringing to us. Oh, okay, I've already gone through some of this. So really today we're about, listening to the volunteers present. I know, David, I think you said it was a really difficult decision to pick the top few. We hear that from every charity because each and every visual that they see, is there something unique about them? And they always say, oh, it was so hard, and why do we can only pick 3? So today we'll be hearing from Quincy, Aliaksandra, Sofia, Shreya, and Santosh, who can't be present today just due to the time zone. I believe has provided a video, and we will have some Q&A and then feedback as well. So Frederick, I think each volunteer has about 5 minutes to present.
They're about.
Okay, perfect. And we're also going to do a small plug for our project that just kicked off last week. It's with an institute called the Game Changers Institute, and this is about developing an eco footprint visualizer to see the impact of plant-based, the positive impact of plant-based diet on the environment. So if you haven't joined and you're interested in this topic, it's not too late. Just come to our website and you can see all the information there and get involved. Okay, sometimes my cursor is just, okay, I'm gonna stop. What's happening here? All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because I think the next presenter is, okay, my Google Slides is stuck.
So
no, that was the last. Oh, sorry.
That was the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't see it anymore.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So if the first presenter would like to share their screen and take it away. I believe it was Quincy, right? Is Quincy on the line? Yes.
Yes, I am. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Hi, everyone. Hope you are doing well wherever you are.
Where are you calling in from, Quincy?
I'm currently visiting home in Kenya, but I'm normally based in UK.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, can you see my screen? I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's good. I'm trying to get this thing that normally green thing for. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm really excited to be showcasing my work. It's my first ever volunteer project, so I'm really happy that my work got chosen to be showcased. Yeah, so I'll just take you quickly through what I did, and then we'll take it from there. So the tools I used for my project are the R open source programming language. And within R, there's a tool called Quarto, and Quarto is just enables us to create visualizations and mix it with text so that you can create one report in just in one form. And the reason I decided to use this is because I was thinking around creating a reproducible analytical pipeline. This allows us to, in future, new data for the next year comes in. You just need to put in the new data and then update, just run the code, and then the visualizations will change, and then you can update the analysis as needed. So the structure of the analysis, I was able to just focus on the 4 themes, just due to time. So I'll just take you quickly through it and then show you the report. So for transfers and negative outcomes, the main outcome from this was just that the fact that out-of-state transfers do not really affect negative outcomes. There was a very low correlation on that. And this just could show us that possibly the issue underlies within capacity within the systems. And then adoption trends, there are high adoptions that are taking place within the shelters, and they were rising until 2022, and then they dipped after 2022. And then I looked at the efficiency, and post-pandemic, the efficiency rate has really declined. So which means there's more intake than adoption. As much as adoption is still quite high, intake is becoming more than adoption. And then the return to owner rate. So I checked the return to owner rate of dogs versus cats, and the dogs are being returned to the owner quite at a higher rate than the cats. So I would say for this particular insight, interventions may have worked for the dogs, but they should be more focused on the cats' return to owner rates. And then the intake categories and shifts over time for the stray intake. A lot of the animals that are coming into the shelter are mostly stray animals. So these persistent levels could suggest that there's limited progress in lost pet recovery or own identification systems. So I would say this needs to be checked on in terms of this gap so that it can be closed. And also in terms of owner relinquishments, post pre-pandemic, it was high, 47,000, but in 2020 it reduced. But this does not mean that it became better. This could possibly just be because people they were restricted to just being in the house, so there weren't a lot of people like reporting, people giving out their animals. But post-pandemic, as you can see, it rose to around 49,000 in 2023, which means that a lot of owners were relinquishing their animals, maybe due to financial hardships and limited support services due to what 2020 brought about. So my recommendation is just to look at more prevention programs in terms of like intakes, and also look at internal capacities and operational limits for the shelter systems and how they can work through it to try and improve the number of animals that they're keeping and the number of animals that are being adopted. So opportunities for improvement for the project, I would say maybe additional data to contextualize some of the data that you already have, such as maybe funding, so that we can be able to do a deeper analysis on maybe operational details. That would have been great. And then in terms of the project, it's just creating more, making the code a bit more reproducible. Due to time limit, it wasn't like as good, as perfect as I've loved it to be, but yeah, it's doable. And just to show you the report that I generated using code. So this is the report. It was published on QuatoPub, which is a public publishing place for our code. Yeah, and you just create like a normal report. And then, for example, you have the summary statistics, and this table has been generated by code. Also, like for the transfer versus negative outcomes, just the same. You have what the questions we explored, the findings and interpretations, and then we have the generated visualizations with our code. And then maybe just an example of what that looks like in the code. Am I able to show? Yeah. I hope you're able to see my IDE, my art studio. Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what the code looks like. So the text is normally in HTML format. Yeah, HTML. And then you just do your coding, and yeah, it just generates for you your code and your visualizations in one place, which makes it great. So yeah, I think that's all for my presentation at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Quincy. You make it look so easy with that code and everything. I'm lost already, but I know you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Frederick, do we want David, do you have any feedback, or do you want to save it till the end?
We can wait till the end if you want. I know that.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we, next is Aliaksandra. Do you mind sharing your screen and introducing yourself?
Yeah. Let me share it. So I hope everybody see it. And I hope I see it too. 1 second. Yeah. Up. So, yeah. So let's go. Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you for selecting my work, my project. It's a great pleasure. And second, I think that all works I have seen are truly amazing. I try to keep my presentation very brief, so I want just to focus on the core idea behind my work and explain my visualization choices. So first of all, let's start from the data. After the first phase, I needed to polish data. This means I check all zip codes, most of them manually, because I saw that many organizations moved or merged with other organizations, and that's why they changed their zip codes. After that, based on these zip codes, I had column with countries. A pattern library called something like USA zip code helped me with that. And after that, I received the data from wind format to long format. So it looks something like that. Then I was thinking about storytelling. I decided to take the structure from the guide that you gave us. And to be honest, it was really helpful because it helped to understand what exactly should be included and what information should be highlighted. I realized that only showing the data, it would be enough. That's why I founded key metrics that shelters and organizations like shelters need to track. For example, life release rate, adoption rate, and so on. Then I made some boring row graphs just for myself to see trends or some strange changes over time. And after that, I tried to find patterns or some explanations. And to be honest, it was a little bit changing because, we have data that was early, not monthly. That's why it was difficult to be 100% sure that some event actually impact on intake or outcome. For example, was the increase of births in shelters in 2022 because of avian flu or not? That's why some of my takeaways are presented as assumptions rather than proven facts. So we have cleaning data, we have structure. Let's talk about visualizations. Except the last graph, all graphs were made in Python library that called Plotly. I had limited knowledge about audience, about the data literacy, so my main idea was making as simple charts as it possible. That's why we have line charts, we have bar charts, and even one pie chart. The presentation also features two, I think, a little bit more complex graphs like a bubble chart and a Sankey diagram. I choose them for two main reasons. First, because there would be a lot of line charts without them, and second, I think that it's look maybe more engaging, more interactive, and more interesting. And I was a little bit afraid that it can be much be difficult for the audience. That's why I include a brief explanation for each one. And of course, key takeaways, a few words summarizing the main conclusions. So the main idea of my work was that the presentation speaks for itself. It is easy to understand work without a person who would explain it, and the audience can just look on graphs, into deep dive into specific years or group of animals in the graphs, but also they can just read the key takeaways. When I made all of that, I understand that I needed to divide the sections not only by headers, but also by colors. That's why one chapter has one color. I choose neutral colors. Some of them are cold and other are warm. When we speak, for example, about positive outcomes like adoption or about return to owner, we have warm colors. But when we speak about something negative, about, for example, negative outcomes, the color would be cold. And the last graph is, I think that it is the most important graph of all this work because it was the first that that came to my mind when I read the project description. It's a waffle chart that shows how many cats and dogs avoided euthanasia thanks to your effort. And I think that if I should choose one, the most important graph, it will be this one. So thank you for your attention, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Aliaksandra.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We are on to our next speaker, Sofia.
Hello, my name is Sofia. Thank you for this opportunity. I am a Mexican living in Washington State, and I am really happy to be able to contribute with the mission of No Kill Colorado. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So my project focuses on topic 6, geographic and community variances. The objective is to show metrics by county, compare the rates and the intake categories across Colorado County. And the most important part is to identify the high performance county. So first, I will provide a general overview of my Tableau visualization. Next, I will show my technical approach. Next, I will explain how I identify the high performance counties and how I calculate the starting shelter load level. So let's begin with the overview of my project. This dashboard operates at the county level using data from Colorado counties from 2015 to 2024, centered only on cats and dogs. The metrics by county section allow filtering by metric and year. The map uses a color gradient reflecting the selected metric. The paw icon highlights the high performance counties. I will explain how this matrix is calculated in a moment. The second section includes two comparison tables, the most frequently high performance county. This table recognizes counties that most often achieve high performance status between 2015 to 2024. A power icon indicates the year when a county reached the high performance status. The blue ones means the sale rate improved compared to the previous year, while the orange power indicates the sale rate stayed the same or decreased. The level here summarizes the logic behind the high performance calculation, but I will explain it in detail shortly. The second table, this one, shows the top 10 counties with the highest sale rate. This ranking is based only in the positive outcomes. We can see a clear difference in Teller County. While each ranker first in high performance county, it falls to the 10th place when considered only the save rate metric. This is because Teller handled significantly more animals than San Miguel or Broomfield, for example. A volume is taken into account in the high performance calculation. This blue arrow indicates improvement in sale rate compared to the previous year. And finally, the scatter plot shows the relationship between a starting shelter load and the sale rate. The starting shelter load represents the level of crowding at the beginning of the year relative to the total annual intake capacity. Let's go to my technical approach. This diagram shows what I did. I used NICS data as a primary data source. However, I needed to enrich the data set with the geographic information. Since my dashboards operate at the county level, I added city, county, and state information. To accomplish this, I used Steve's data set as index facilities. This was really helpful because Steve added an ID index instead of replacing the facility names, which allowed me to cross the geographic information with NICS dataset. My first step was to match the facility index with the PACPA list. I was able to match about 60% of them. For the remaining 40% of the facility, I use Aliaksandra's dataset to obtain the zip code. With the zip code, I identify the corresponding county. However, some zip codes correspond to more than one county, and some are PO boxes. So I had to correct some of them manually. In total, I was able to match about 30% of the facilities. And for the remaining 10% of the total, I found county information for about 40% by searching website and Google Maps. This took me much longer than I expected. As a result, 6% of the facility remain marked as unknown. I use Python for the data manipulation. In Python, I load the enriched data set, filtered by Colorado, counties, cats and dogs only, group the information by county, and the most important part, I calculate the derived variables, the metrics, the additional metrics that I use in my analysis. The output is a CBS file that I use in Tableau. Now I'm going to explain my derived variables. All total rates and flags such as whether the sale rate is improving, whether a county is a high performer, or the starting shelter load is calculated in Python. I wanted to make the comparison fair when evaluating life-saving success across counties. I want to show something. For example, a county that saved almost 98% of 5,000 animals, like Weld County, shows a very different level of performance and effort than a county that saves 100% of 10 animals, like Baca County. Both are doing good job, but their operational challenges are different, are not the same. So for that reason, I use the volume weighting. This gives more credit to counties that maintain high sale rate while caring for many animals, and it softens the advantage of counties with very low outcomes in volume. This is the formula that I use. The volume weight equals to logarithm of the outcomes divided by the logarithm of the 95 percentile of the outcomes, all raised to the power of 0.3. This produces a normalized value between 0 and 1. The log function reduces the impact of very large shelters like Denver, which more than 30,000 outcomes and a rate of 88%. So this keeps the scale fair and gradual. This 95 percentile I took as a reference point because it represents a high volume county within the normal operation rate. I didn't want extreme values like Denver. This 95% gives a metric fair to for counties with smaller shelters. This exponent, the 0.3, softens the volume effect further. This means counties with large shelters deserve credit, while counties with a small shelter are not punished too harsh. So everybody has a fair opportunity to be recognized. I original test using 0.5, the square root transformation, but I noticed better result with 0.3. To determine the high performance counties, first I filter the counties with sale rate greater than or equal to 96%. This number is based on the sale rate distribution. Then I multiply the value by the volume weight and select the top 25%. And finally, let's talk about the starting shelter load that I use in the scatter plot. This one. Although we don't have information on the full capacity of each shelter, we can measure the starting shelter load, which represents the inventory pressure ratio at the start of the year. It tells us how full the shelters were at the beginning of the year relative to the total number of the animals they received that year. In other words, it reflects the initially crowded level before new animals arrive. Low load means shelter began the year with very few animals in care, indicating health capacity and flexibility to take in animals. A high load means shelters started the year near above their practical capacity, which can limit intake, increase crowding, or reduce life-saving flexibility. I define the loss level percentage based on the data distribution. For example, Rio Blanco began the year with 42% of this annual intake already in care. This level or starting pressure can make it harder to absorb incoming animals and maintain optimal outcomes compared to the counties that began the year with much lower load. However, as you can see, most Colorado counties began the year with relative low shelter load. Overall, I think the idea behind the criteria for high performance counties is a good starting point, but it can be improved by adding other variables depending on the objective. For example, recognizing continuous improvement, like clear creek, those improvements, or penalize how euthanasia rates more severely, or consider a certain shelter load, but I think this require further analysis. So that's all for me, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Sophia. Very detailed work and excellent analysis done. So thank you so much. Wow. Okay, our next presenter, Shreya. I just have to say she's 2 for 0 with data change makers. She was also chosen to present her beautiful visualization for our project Boomi a couple months ago. So welcome back, Shreya, and looking forward to seeing your presentation.
Oh, thank you. Let me share my screen. Oh, okay. I think I'm sharing my screen, but I lost everyone else in the process.
Okay. We can see it.
Brilliant. And I can see you guys, so that's great. So hi everyone, I'm Shreya. I'm a Tableau visionary and ambassador, and I'm really happy that I can be here today. So thank you for inviting me. So I joined for phase 2 of the project, which is just data visualization, and I joined about a week before the deadline. But I really wanted to support the mission and tell a story through data. So here I am. So before I get started, I wanted to quickly thank the phase 1 volunteers. Because I joined late, I wouldn't have been able to create what I did if they hadn't cleaned the data and shared it with everyone. So they're the ones that made it possible for me to do the design and the storytelling. So I'm really grateful for that work. So for this project, I wanted to create a storytelling dashboard. I've been creating storytelling dashboards at work, and I've noticed how powerful they are for driving action and change. So I really wanted to do something similar here as well. So my goals for this project was to engage people emotionally with the data, not just see the data as numbers, but actually the lives behind it, and encourage them to take action. So here I've said it's not all doom and gloom. When it comes to storytelling dashboards, often we go straight to the negatives, and that's because when you're telling a story, if you want to tell an emotional story, it's easy to focus on the struggles, it feels more powerful. But I wanted the story to feel hopeful, and that's because the data showed a lot of positive change and progress. So I wanted to mirror that and show that the change is already happening. So when I'm designing a storytelling dashboard, this is completely different to how I would approach an internal dashboard. When you're doing a public-facing dashboard, you're focusing more on the audience, how they're connecting with the data, the emotions they're feeling. Whereas for internal dashboards, you're focused more on the decision-making. So you're thinking about KPIs, all of those analysis that allows you to dive deeper into the story. So a slightly different way of thinking about the data. But since I was creating a storytelling dashboard, I wanted to guide the users through each single stage of the story. And it's very similar to the lives of the animals that come into the shelters. So it starts with their intake, it then goes into their journey, their outcome, then it goes into community efforts, and finally I wanted to add some action at the end. So this is how I wanted it all to come together. And with that, I'm gonna walk through my dashboard. So this is the dashboard I created for this project. I wanted to have a really strong opening line that summarizes the mission of No Kill Colorado. So every pet deserves a happy ending. Together we're building a No Kill Colorado. On the left-hand side, wait, no, that's right. On the right-hand side, you can see an introduction into No Kill Colorado and what they're about. So if there's someone who's new to the organization and charity, they can learn a bit more about their goals and their mission. And then we have some 2024 overview stats. So the total animals that were intaked in 2024 and the save rates. And here I've got a donut that visualizes the save rate as well. And as you can see, this really enforces how close we are to the goal of No Kill Colorado. We're so close. Next, we dive a bit deeper into the story. So it starts with the intake. Every year, thousands come to us for help. And with the line chart on the right, we can see how, yes, it's increasing, decreasing by the years, but it's actually relatively stable. So the need for shelters isn't going anywhere anytime soon. There's always going to be a demand for shelters. But how do they find their way to us? So here we can see that most of the intake is actually from strays. And this helps set the story later down the line when we talk about return to owners. But we can see that strays remain the largest group entering shelters. Transfers from other states show Colorado's role as a regional safety net. But then every journey ends differently. So over the years, we can see that positive outcomes are really strong. So positive outcomes are shown in yellow. We do still have some neutral outcomes, which is expected. And we also have some negative outcomes. But the negative is so much smaller than the positive. So for 2024, 64% adoption outcome, 14% return to owner. And if we look at the negatives, we have 6% euthanasia, 1% death. Oh, it refreshed. Let me see if I can. Tableau has its quirks sometimes. It does this, it's fine. Okay, we were there. So I know in the briefing document, typically the outcomes were split into positive and negative. I wanted to isolate out the transfers because I feel like that is quite a neutral outcome. The pets aren't fully saved yet. They're alive, which is great, but we want to give them a happier ending. So that's where the positive outcomes really comes in. And then diving into the positive outcomes, you can see I use the same shade of yellow to represent the positive outcomes, so it almost feels like you're diving in. Positive outcomes are driven by the community. Both adoption and return to owner are because of the people. So here we can see that 6 in 10 pets leave shelters through adoption. Each adoption gives a second chance to an animal in need and opens space for the next one. 4 in 10 stray pets are reunited with their owners. So reunions bring families back together, and this shows steady progress, but there's still room to grow. But now if we break these down into animal types, so dogs, cats, and others, we can see that adoption trends are still very strong. So with dogs, we can see about 6 in 10 dogs leave shelters through adoption. For cats, it's even higher. Also for other types of animals like birds. But the main difference comes into return to owners. So while dogs have quite a high return to owner rates, the same can't be said about cats and other animals. So this really reinforces the need for microchipping animals so we can reunite them back with their owners in a nice way and open up more space for other animals in need. And following that story, I wanted to add some actionable steps. So microchipping your pets, it helps shelters reunite animals with their owners. If you're looking to introduce a pet to your life, look into adopting or fostering an animal as opposed to just purchasing an animal. And if you can't adopt or foster, you don't have any pets, you can still show support by volunteering at animal shelters or donating. So at the end of our tagline, help Colorado become a no-kill state. But the reason I really wanted to build this dashboard is it doesn't just apply to Colorado. It applies to shelters all across the globe. These actions could help save numerous lives. So while it is Colorado driven, there's like a wider message to it as well. And hopefully, I think the first step is just building awareness. If people know that this is an issue and they can do something to help, then I think you've done enough in terms of impacts in that way. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I added some cute pictures at the end. But yeah, thank you so much.
Fantastic, Shreya.
Amazing.
Your ability to just combine the data and the visuals and other type of visuals and tell the story is just outstanding. I don't think I've met anyone like you, so this is amazing. And yeah, thank you so much for your contribution.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really enjoying these projects.
Oh, great. Well, keep it coming. Frederick, are we playing Santhosha's video or do we just go to Q&A based on time?
Big QA is probably better. So I'd like to
Okay.
hear what David is thinking.
Yeah. Sure. Just before that, just want to recognize Santosh. He is based in India, so he was also chosen. And like Shreya, he's a 2-for-0 because he was also chosen during the Boomi project. So it's great. So congratulations, Santosh. And over to you, David.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. I'm just blown away. Santosh was great. I wish he was here that I could thank him directly, like I get to thank all you. What I love about all four, I'm going to talk about all four first, and then I'll talk about each one individually briefly, is that when I'm looking at it, it's not the same as when you're presenting it. And when I was looking at it, I chose them because they were all great, but they were different. And I just understand. It's amazing the things I just learned in the last couple of minutes because I've looked at all of them before, and you all have a different way of approaching the data, which is really helpful to me because I've been approaching this data for years, and you all made me think of something that I didn't think about before. Quincy, one of the reasons that yours was attractive to me was I really kind of like the visuals with the language because you had a fair amount of text that was actually explaining what was going on. I was thinking about the audience. Depending on the audience, that could be the best way to actually reach them, and that was really attractive to me. It stuck out to me right away. I think you had the most text accompanying the visualizations that you put in, and I think that's important because sometimes we get wrapped in one or the other, and you had both, which was really great. Alexandra, I really liked that you really looked into the organizations and that they were, there were changes there and you had to figure that out. That was a lot of work, and I know that's a lot of work because I've done a little bit of that in the past as well, and it really helped me understand what's going on there. And amongst everyone's actually, I do look forward to looking into the data because even when I go from one to the other, sometimes it looks a little different from one to the other, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I don't think anyone's wrong. We were all working with that data that everyone worked on, which was an amazing part of this project. But the simplicity of some of your stuff, Alexandra, you said in the beginning you just did the bar charts and then you went into the bubble. I think also gave people a journey in that visualization thing, right? Because everyone knows what a bar chart is. Everyone knows what a pie chart is. But once you have them in that frame of mind and you go to the bubble chart, if they've never seen it before, I think it helped the way you kind of actually transcended that and kind of moved it through, which was really, really cool. And then Sophia, I never thought of looking at the number of animals in the shelter day one, and then look at what happened that year. I've never connected those two, because I'm always worried about how many animals, what are the outcomes? How many animals are getting out alive? I never even thought of that until you said it, and now I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, that's an interesting connection that you found that it never even occurred to me. Which I love that. And then I love the it improved from this year, or it didn't improve, or it went down from one year to the other. And to actually see that's something I really, that is something, kind of a core piece of data I wanted to get out of this longitudinal look of this data. And so that really attracted me inside there. And then Shreya, I love that you just came to it from a story, that you were thinking about a story, because people don't always resonate with statistics, right? Statistics are good and they're helpful, but even when we're trying to save lives, it's so much easier to get people to pay attention if I talk about this cat, right? This cat, Binky, needs to be saved today. That resonates with people, but we're trying to help them understand it's systemic. There are systemic things we can do to improve the world on a daily basis for saving the lives of homeless pets. And I think your story really, that was great, that's where the story was, and that was when your head really came through on that. I think that was great. You guys are amazing. I learned something from every single one of you today. And I hope if anyone's interested, we may talk again, because I am looking to make this presentation going forward. I have multiple audience. I have the general public. I have politicians. I have other animal welfare organizations. You guys are just amazing. And I know we're getting late, so I'm going to shut up. Bailey, do you have anything? And I saw Rochelle was here. So Bailey, just so you all know, works with me with the state legislature. She helps us with law and legislation. And then Rochelle, who was here, I don't know if she still is a board member in No Kill Colorado. Did you have anything? Hi, Rochelle. I want to go Bailey first. Do you have anything to jump in on?
I can be really brief. I just wanted to say thank you all so much. When we are working on legislation down in the building, on behalf of our No Kill Coalition, there are 100 legislators down there, and they are not all experts in everything, and yet they all have to vote on everything. So having data like this that they can look at, that they can visualize, they can see the problems that we're facing is so, so important. So I loved being able to see all this data. In a plain format that even us lay people can see and digest. It was really, really wonderful, and I just want you all to know that it really will make a difference. It'll make a huge, huge difference for what we're doing down in the Capitol here in Colorado. So thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. Rochelle, did you have anything to add?
I just want to echo what you said, David. All the presentations were absolutely amazing, and I would love to kind of read through them as well to unpack it a little bit more. But I think that there's so much value in the work that you guys did that will be very useful here in the coming years. So thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Bailey and Rochelle. Very nice to meet you. So, Frederick, anything else we want to cover?
No, I think
we're good.
maybe just as closing, David and Tana are going to catch up in the next couple of weeks, maybe to talk about the next step. David might need you to refine UVs or talk about the next step, what he wants in the future, make them more streamlined when the data is refreshing every year. So yeah, we'll be in touch with David very soon to talk about that.
Looking forward to that conversation. And I'm going to say it right now. I've never had an experience like I have with Data Changemakers. This has been an unbelievable experience. You guys, what you put together, and these incredible people here, and the ones that aren't here today, I've never seen anything like this. And the whole time I've been trying to do stuff like this for animal welfare. You guys are just amazing.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear. We also appreciate your generosity in sharing your time and data, and just your collaboration on Slack and encouraging the team. It's also high. Your contribution is high on our list of the charities that we've worked with. So absolutely, thank you, David and team. Excellent. So, go ahead, Frederick.
Just a quick one. David's credit certificate as well. So I'm going to send an email to you all with David's certificate as a thank you. So thanks, David, for doing those certificates. We appreciate that.
Yeah, everyone is awesome. I wish I could do more.
And feel free to promote on social media. We'd love the attention, both for David's cause and Data Changemakers cause, and as well as just promoting all the great work you do. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good morning, evening, night.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.